Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here again to cut through the noise of cloud updates. This week, it's all about the key AWS developments from September 2nd to the 5th, 2025. Our goal, like always, is simple. Find the updates that actually matter for you, the technical pros out there. We're talking security, performance, cost, developer experience, the stuff that really moves the needle day to day. No fluff.
Exactly. AWS never stands still, does it? And looking at these updates really gives you a sense of direction. We're seeing definite pushes in AI and security and, making operations smoother. Today, we'll really dig into the so what for your own setups based on everything we've pulled together for this deep dive.
Okay, let's jump right in. We've got some pretty forward-looking stuff this week. How about we start with a big security update and then pivot into generative AI? First up, CloudFront's post-quantum support. Now, post-quantum, it still sounds a bit sci-fi to me, but this update feels genuinely important for, well, future-proofing things, right?
Well, absolutely. It's a really significant step. The key insight here is getting ahead of future threat. We're talking about quantum computers potentially breaking today's encryption down the line. Imagine data harvested now, decrypted years later. That's the risk.
Right, the harvest now, decrypt later scenario. Scary stuff.
Exactly. So CloudFront now supports hybrid post-quantum key establishment. It's for all existing TLS policies. Basically, it uses algorithms resistant to both current and these potential future quantum attacks, kind of a double layer.
Okay, a hybrid approach. And how much work is it to enable?
That's the best part. It's automatic. No configuration needed from your end. It just helps ensure that long-term data security and, compliance readiness. They also launched a new policy, TLS 1.32025. It's TLS 1.3 only, for folks wanting the absolute latest standards for security and maybe your performance bump.
So it's kind of a silent upgrade for resilience against threats we can only theorize about right now.
Very interesting. Okay, shifting gears from security foundations to the very fast-moving world of Gen AI, Amazon Bedrock updates. Specifically, Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 4 gets global cross-region inference. What does that unlock?
Yeah, this is pretty big for scaling AI apps reliably. Global cross-region inference means Bedrock can automatically send your Claude Sonnet 4 request to, well, any supported AWS region globally.
So it finds the best place to run the inference.
Exactly. It helps optimize how you use resources and really boost the model's throughput. Think about unexpected traffic spikes hitting your Gen AI app. This lets you handle that smoothly by spreading the load across different regions. It's about availability and performance, basically leveraging that global AWS backbone.
That global reach for Claude Sonnet 4 definitely sounds crucial for large-scale deployments. And staying with Claude models, I hear Bedrock also tweaked cache management, made it simpler. They did, yeah. This one affects Claude 3.5 Haiku, 3.7, and Claude 4. It simplifies prompt caching quite a bit. Before, you often had to manually figure out cache points deciding which bits of a prompt to reuse in a conversation. It could get fiddly.
Right. Managing that cache logic yourself sounds error-prone.
It could be. Now, you just set one cache breakpoint at the end of your request. The system then automatically finds and reuses the longest matching piece from the cache. It cuts down the manual work, but crucially, cache read tokens don't count against your TPM quotas anymore.
Okay, TPM quotas. Maybe quickly explain what's a token here and why is not counting cache reads against TPM a big deal?
Sure. So a token is basically a chunk of text, could be a word or part of a word that the language model processes. It's the basic unit.
Yeah.
Your tokens per minute or TPM quota is like the model's processing speed limit, how many tokens it can handle per minute.
Got it. Like bandwidth for the AI.
Exactly. So if reading from the cache doesn't use up that bandwidth, you're essentially getting context for free. That means better performance and lower costs, especially for things like chatbots or research tools where you repeat a lot of context in the conversation. More bang for your buck, really.
That sounds like a clear win. Definitely useful. Okay, rounding out the AI segment. Amazon Neptune integrating with Zep. Zep is an open source memory server for LLMs, right? Neptune as the graph store. What's the play here?
Yeah, this is interesting. It's about building LLM agents with real memory, long-term memory. Zep handles orchestrating things like conversational history, summarization, retrieval. Neptune, being a graph database, is really good at representing complex relationships and knowledge.
So Zep manages the memory process.
Yeah.
Neptune stores the knowledge graph.
Precisely. By using Neptune as the back-end graph store for Zep, you can build agents that don't just respond. But remember, they get long-term context, can do more complex reasoning across past interactions. Think multi-hop reasoning over that stored knowledge. It allows for more personalized, context-aware AI, moving beyond simple Q&A bots towards, truly stateful assistance.
Okay, so this first segment, it's really showing AWS pushing on two fronts, making
Mhm.
AI smarter and more capable,
Hmm.
while also hardening the underlying cloud against, well, potentially existential future threats like quantum computing, innovation, plus resilience.
Well put. They're definitely building for both today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch focus now. How is AWS making the day-to-day grind easier? Let's talk operational efficiency and governance. First up, CloudWatch. Metrics Insights got a pretty significant upgrade. You can now query metrics data going back 2 weeks. It used to be just 3 hours.
2 weeks. Wow, okay. That's huge for troubleshooting after the fact or spotting longer trends. 3 hours often felt too short if you didn't catch something immediately.
Exactly. This gives you much better visualization and investigation power over longer time frames. You can properly analyze trends, see the impact of an event days later. It really helps understand the full picture of your operational health. You can connect dots you might have missed.
Yeah, moving beyond just the immediate fire drill to understand the slow burns too. I like it.
And sticking with CloudWatch, they've also tackled alarm management for dynamic environments. There are new query alarms. Basically, one alarm can monitor multiple individual metrics using a query.
Okay, wait. So instead of an alarm per instance in an auto-scaling group.
Right. You don't need to manage hundreds of individual alarms anymore for those dynamic fleets.
Oh, that is a massive time saver. I've seen teams spend so much effort just keeping alarms in sync with scaling events.
It really is a big deal for reducing operational toil. The query dynamically picks up metrics for new resources as they're created and stops watching them when they're deleted. Your monitoring scales automatically. Less effort, better coverage, and your team can focus on what the metrics mean, not just managing alarms.
Yeah, shifting from alarm admin to actual observability. That's a smart move. Okay, moving on. Streamlining EC2 and container management. EC2 has new AMI usage features. AMI tracking.
Yeah.
That's been a bit of a black box sometimes, hasn't it? Trying to figure out what's safe to deregister.
You definitely hit on a common pain point. Finding out which accounts or resources were using a specific AMI often meant writing custom scripts or just, well, guessing carefully. These new features give you that visibility directly. You can see AMI consumption across accounts, identify dependent instances, launch templates, even image builder recipes or SSM parameters that reference it.
So proper lifecycle management, finally, makes cleanup and cost optimization much easier.
Exactly. Safer deregistration, better cost tracking, eliminates that manual detective work.
Excellent. And for containers, ECS Exec is now in the Management Console.
Yes, this is a nice quality of life improvement. ECS Exec lets you get a secure shell right into a running container. No opening inbound ports, no managing SSH keys.
Right. I've used it via the CLI. Putting it in the console just makes it faster for quick troubleshooting.
Precisely. Instead of switching context to the API or CLI, you can just click right there in the console. Streamlines debugging, makes developers and operators happier. You can configure encryption and logging too, right at the cluster level. Convenience and security.
Nice. Okay, lastly for this section, governance. CloudFormation hooks get an update. Support for managed controls.
Yes, this is quite powerful for proactive governance. CloudFormation hooks can now use AWS Managed Controls directly from the Control Tower Controls catalog.
So instead of writing your own hook logic to check, say, if S3 buckets have encryption enabled,
You can just enable the AWS Managed Control for that. It dramatically cuts down the setup time for validating your stacks against best practices.
and you can test them first.
Yep, there's a warn mode. You can see what would fail without actually blocking deployments. Great for rolling out policies gradually. Plus, there's a new hooks invocation summary page. Gives you a history of which controls ran, what the outcome was. Good for compliance reporting and troubleshooting.
So really tightening the screws on preventative controls and making compliance easier to manage within CloudFormation itself.
That's the idea. Reduce risk, simplify compliance.
Okay, this segment definitely shows AWS focusing on reducing that operational drag, making things easier to watch, manage, and govern. All right, let's move into our final segment. We're looking at updates relevant for folks managing large-scale data, big enterprise migrations, and global connectivity. First off, something potentially impactful for the bottom line. RDS for Oracle gets bare metal instances with a lower price.
That's right. RDS for Oracle and RDS Custom for Oracle now support bare metal instance types, like the M7i and R7i series. And they come with a 25% lower price point compared to the equivalent virtualized instances.
25%, that's substantial. Where's the main benefit besides the sticker price?
It's primarily aimed at optimizing commercial database license costs. Oracle licensing, as you know, can be complex and expensive, often tied to cores. Bare metal gives you full visibility into the physical cores and sockets. This lets you use Oracle's multi-tenant feature more effectively to consolidate multiple databases onto a single server.
Ah, so you can pack more databases onto fewer licensed cores on that bare metal instance.
Exactly. It can lead to significant savings on those per-core license and support costs, especially good for consolidating many smaller databases or running really demanding ones.
Makes sense. A tangible saving for big Oracle shops. Okay, so shifting to Kubernetes. EKS cost allocation gets an update for accelerated computing, GPUs and things.
Split cost allocation data for EKS now supports tracking costs for those specialized accelerator resources. We're talking NVIDIA and AMD GPUs, Trainium, Inferentia chips, the hardware powering a lot of AML work.
Getting granular cost visibility for those expensive resources has been tricky in K8s, right?
Very tricky. This update gives you much better visibility into your AML infrastructure spend on EKS. You can now allocate costs back to specific teams or business units based not just on CPU and memory requests, but also on their consumption of these GPU or accelerator resources.
So proper chargeback and cost tracking for the expensive bits of AML workloads on EKS?
Exactly. Essential for understanding where the money's going and optimizing utilization of that pricey hardware.
Very important indeed. Now let's talk migration. AWS Transform gets a couple of key updates. First, detached storage assessments.
Yeah, this addresses a common migration headache. Storage SANs, NAS, file servers, object stores can be a huge part of the on-prem footprint and migration cost, sometimes up to 45%, they estimate.
And often the least understood part too, I'd imagine.
Definitely. It can be complex and poorly documented. So AWS Transform now includes analysis specifically for this detached storage. It assesses what you have on-prem and gives you a detailed TCO comparison for migrating it to AWS services like S3, EBS, or FSx. It helps you figure out the best migration path for your storage, offering specific recommendations alongside the compute migration plan. Makes that opaque part much clearer.
That foresight seems crucial for avoiding nasty surprises mid-migration. And Transform for VMware also gets updates, flexible networking, and more regions.
Correct. This aims to simplify complex VMware migrations, particularly around networking. It now supports modifying VPC CIDR ranges. This helps maintain business continuity if you need to run workloads both on-prem and in AWS temporarily without IP address conflicts.
Handling IP overlap issues during the migration phase, that's a common challenge.
It is. Transform helps automate some of that network config and gives you flexible IP management options. Plus, they've added new target regions: US East Ohio, Europe Stockholm, and Europe Ireland. More choices for where you land your VMware workloads.
Good stuff, making those tricky VMware moves a bit smoother. Finally, let's talk global connectivity. AWS Direct Connect is expanding its footprint.
Yes, new Direct Connect locations have opened up: Nairobi, Kenya, and Auckland, New Zealand, plus an expansion in Lagos, Nigeria. These offer dedicated 10 Gbps and 100 Gbps connections into AWS regions.
So better private connectivity options in those parts of the world.
Exactly. For organizations needing that dedicated private link, it provides more consistent performance, lower latency, and better security than going over the public internet. And these connections support MASEC encryption too.
MASEC. What's the benefit there?
It's layer 2 encryption, basically secure hop-by-hop encryption and authentication right at the Ethernet level. It adds another strong layer of security for sensitive traffic going over that dedicated Direct Connect link. Data privacy and integrity right on the wire.
Okay, so more locations, high speeds, and enhanced security for private AWS connections globally, especially useful in those expanding markets.
Absolutely. It supports businesses building out their global presence on AWS. Hashtag now outro. So we've really covered quite a spectrum today, from quantum-proofing security and scaling generative AI, all the way to fine-tuning operational tasks, managing costs better, and enabling big enterprise moves. It's pretty clear AWS is still pushing hard across the board, focusing on things that, directly help you build, secure, and optimize in the cloud.
Yeah, I agree. Even updates that seem small on the surface can add up to significant shifts in capability or efficiency. A lot of it seems geared towards making complex things more manageable and powerful tools more accessible, and always with an eye on what's next. We really hope this deep dive gave you some useful takeaways, maybe spark some ideas for your own work. As always, for the full details, check out the AWS What's New page and the docs linked there. You can really go deep on any of these.
And maybe as you think about these, consider not just how they optimize what you do now, but how they might change your future plans. Especially with AI weaving itself deeper into everything, what new problems can you tackle now that maybe seemed too hard or too expensive before.
Good final thought. Keep asking those questions. Until next time, keep building smartly and keep diving deep.